What's going on, guys? My name is Johnny. I'm the coach of the Rhine Valley Guardians, and I'm here today with my upload for the CPC Season 5, Week 10, the last match of the regular season, and we're taking on Hikertoad and his Boston Boldores. Hiker is a very talented player. He has been doing extremely well as of late, especially in the CPC, but also in some tournaments he's been a part of, so he's really been kicking it. We've played him once before, I think. That was back in the CPC Season 3 off-season, where we actually got to join the CPC and where we won the championship. We faced him in Phase 2, I think, of that tournament, so that was pretty fun as well. Yeah, but definitely, he's a really talented player, and he also has, like, a really terrifying team. So yeah, let me go over his team real quick, and then we'll hop into how I tried and build for this team and why I brought the sets I brought to our match. First off, he has the Mega Marvel, which is, quite honestly, one of the most terrifying wall breakers you'll ever get. It's been recently unbanned in a couple of leagues. Before that, it has been frequently one of the banned, or frequently been a Pokemon that is, quite honestly, banned in almost every league it's ever been, that's ever been existing. So, I think the MPL allowed it, and the CPC voted to allow it this season as well, with, I think, a positive effect. While I do think it's good, especially as a wall breaker, I don't think it's broken, because most teams, offensive teams, have ways of dealing with it, and most defensive teams can quite honestly deal with it as well if they're well drafted. But yeah, it's a top tier threat, but I don't think it's broken. So yeah, the Mega Mobile is still a ginormous threat to our team. Our fairy, he has a super effective coverage move for my main fairy resist, which is Mega Scizor. Scolipede or Volcarona both don't really want to take Plyros, and he can just Fire Fang the Mega Scizor. However, with the combination of Mew, Mega Scizor, Suicune, and to an extent even Stunfisk, I think I can deal with the Mega Mawile as well, because I wish I had Mega Teeter. Regular Tyranitar does guaranteed outspeed Mega Mawile if I'm EV it correctly, which means that Sucker Punch is basically a non-issue, because that bounces off T-Tar, and I always have a guaranteed way of revenging it, so that's something that's very nice when you're dealing with the Mega Mawile. Next up, Tornadus T, another big threat to my team. My team tends to be a bit setup heavy and a bit passive, which is why Tornadus T definitely is a good bring versus my team, because with Taunt and a reliable Flying Step and Hurricane, as well as coverage moves and Heat Wave to hit my Mega Scizor, and potentially U-turn to gain momentum, it's just really solid. I do have the Stunfisk and the T-Tar, which both T-Tar in case I bring a Choppleberry. Stunfisk just in general is a great check to Tornadus, because with static, every time it hits it needs to risk something. I resist Hurricane and can really capitalize on the Tornadus by clicking Stealth Rock on it, even if he's like Taunt Toxic. Tornadus does not want to take super effective stab discharges from my Stunfisk. So that's something to keep in mind. Next, he has the Galvantula. Now, this is a problem. And this isn't a problem because of the offensive Pokemon. Well, yeah, even that it sort of is, but because my team does not have good electric resists. Basically my only real check to Stunfisk is to Galvantula is my Stunfisk, and he has a super effective coverage move even for that. However, what the problem with Galvantula is, it has a relatively low base special attack, so it's relatively weak, which means that my team, which is very bulky overall, can deal with it very well, because Galvantula doesn't really force the switch it would otherwise. Sticky Webs are another potential problem, so I need to be prepped for that. However, the good thing is that while Sticky Webs are problematic for my team, I decided to take a more defensive approach in my building this week, mainly due to Mega Mawile being around. Oh, that does not make sense. Mainly because not Mega Mawile being around, but that I can. Yeah, well, yes. Okay, let me start and rephrase this a bit more casually. The fact that I build a more defensive team, in a way, because of the fact that his main wall-breaking prowess with his whole team comes from Mega Mawile plus Tornadus T and Darmanitan. However, I do have very solid ways of checking all of his three main wall breakers or offensive breakers, which on the other hand means that I can fare very well with a defensive build this week, which is why I'm not that worried about Sticky Webs. In case they are important, I still need to pack Defog, which, as you can see on screen, I will do on my Mega Scizor, but I'll explain that later during this team building part of the video. Then Next up, he has the Nidoqueen, which quite honestly isn't that good versus my team. It obviously is a reliable rock setter. It can be terrifying offensive threat, but Nidoqueen's speed tier at 74 just isn't good versus my team. Mew can outspeed it, basically live almost any hit if I evolve it correctly and to KO it back with Psychic. Scolipede does outspeed it and hit it quite hard with Earthquake. Shukaberry Nidoqueen would be something that is probably his best answer to my SD Scolipede apart from Intimidate Defensive Quillfish. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Suicune can outspeed it and hit it very hard with Scald. Mega Scizor can U-turn on it if I want to and avoid the flamethrower, but I'm not really going to try that. Sorry. Yeah, Volcarona just can potentially even set up on it if it doesn't have Rock Slide. Mienshao, that would be another thing that Nidoqueen deals with quite well, but I do have solid answers to Nidoqueen. I still expect it to come, but I do expect it to be a more defensive variant, because the offensive variant just doesn't have the speed versus my team. Yeah, then Starmie. Starmie is a huge threat. Similarly to electric types, I don't deal with water types too well, because my only water resist is Suicune. And Suicune doesn't really do that much back to other water types. However, what Starmie, again, in similar to Galvantula, is that it isn't relatively strong right off the bat. So I might be able to take even some super effective hits, because my team is really bulky, and capitalize on Starmie that way. So that's something I'm going to try in my team building. Girder is interesting. It has the potential to be a really big threat, because Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, and Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, and Knockoff do a really solid job at beating my team down, and has some setup for them in Tyranitar, Vullaby, even Stunfisk. Suicune in a way, because Guts could be useful here, but the thing that really hinders Girder, in my opinion, is Mew, because if I run Psychic Mew, I don't really care about Bulk Up, and I almost always have a way of revenging it. Even Scizor can take a +1 Fire Punch, Sword Send up, and then Bullet Punch it. Suicune can Calm Mind up alongside it, Bulk Ups, and beat it that way. And all these mons do have reliable recovery, so I'm not sure if Girder will come. It's a possibility. It doesn't have the worst matchup, but also not the best in the world. Piloswine, another physically defensive mon. Piloswine is good in a way, because it deals with my Scolipede, which is an immense threat to his team. However, it also gives a lot of leeway to my team. Both Scizor and Suicune are two Pokemon that Piloswine can't really touch, and this way that gives me an enormous amount of space to play around Piloswine and capitalize on that by, for example, defogging or Calm Minding up with my mons. Something I do fully expect is Toxic. It just makes sense to me, but Piloswine might still come. The Ice Shard priority is nice. Rock Slide can prevent the Volcarona from setting up in its face, and it's a secondary check to the Scolipede. I don't think it's likely, particularly, but might come. Especially since Piloswine is his best answer, quite frankly, to an offensive Tyranitar, so that is something to keep in mind as well. Next up, Persian Alola. Yeah, no. Alolan Persian has the potential to be quite annoying to my team, especially with the combination of Foul Play and Taunt, as well as Parting Shot potentially, but it just doesn't come in on much, because my team can be I can utilize the Volturn of my team quite well here. It doesn't deal with Mega Scizor too well, and my team is just too bulky for Persian to really do it, and in a way, because it doesn't have reliable recovery, I can break and whittle down Persian faster than he can beat my team with it. So it can come, I don't expect it, especially since three of my biggest physically offensive threats to him in Mega Scizor and Scolipede both are bugs, which means they hit Persian super effectively with one of their stab moves. So I don't really expect it to come. If it comes, I can play around it though. Darmanitan is a threat, but in similar way to Mega Marble, I think the bulk of my team can out-bulk it and wear it down gradually. That's one of the things with Darmanitan. If it wants to break effectively, it has to take huge amounts of recoil damage and chip damage, especially if I can manage to get up Stealth Rock this game, which isn't going to be easy, but I might be able to do that. Yeah, but otherwise, Darm's main stab is phenomenally walled by Suicune plus Tyranitar, and I always have Mew on a double to catch him going for the superpower. And once his attack is lowered, he doesn't really have a way of punishing my Mew, because Threablets at -1 won't cut it and won't beat my defensive Mew. So my main defensive core can easily play around this Darmanitan here. Quillfish is something I do expect to come, because Quillfish in combination with, for example, Nidoqueen and Piloswine might be his best way of stopping my physical threats, like Tyranitar, like Scolipede, like SD Scizor. So that is something I really, really expect. However, since none of these, neither Piloswine, Nidoqueen, nor Quillfish do have reliable recovery, I do expect that I will be able to pressure him a lot with my team and gradually wear him down to where one of my sweepers can pick up the game late game. Plus Piloswines, plus Quillfish offensive potential isn't really noticeable, I'd say, because while it can be strong if you invest it offensively, it definitely has the potential to be a strong offensive presence with against the right teams. I don't think that it does have quite the power to break my team as it would need to if you brought an offensive set. So if he brings the more defensive variant, I again can outbulk it and wear it down that way. So yeah, that's kind of the ideas I had going through the matchup. Oh, Alone and Executor is not coming. Trigger Room offensive with HP Fire, Draco, and Giga Drain might be a thing. But as you'll see, I prep for that as well, because there's just one that he can really capitalize on my team. Again, with triple bugs, you don't really bring a grass type, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts on his team. Now let's look at my team and to see what we did to build around this. So as I mentioned before, I want to focus on a more defensive approach. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that I can't really lose to any of his threats and still have a way to win the game in the end. So what I do here is I started out with my Mew, because what I notice is that he doesn't really have a way of breaking Mew, if I play it correctly. Mew with Will-O-Wisp, Boost, Psychic, and U-Turn, and the Rocky Helmet basically deals with his entire team. The Rocky Helmet enables me to, in combination with Will-O-Wisp, allows me to beat Mega Mawile quite honestly 1v1. I can Will-O-Wisp on his first play off or even his Sucker Punch and then proceed to Roost Stall, eventually U-Turn out into either my Scizor or my Suicune to tank the following hit and beat it from there. So yeah, Mew is just really solid. Tornadus, if it wants to come in on me, yes, it can taunt me, but I can U-turn out on that, go into my stun fist, and then proceed to discharge it or get Stealth Rock up on it, which you'll see later. So Mew is just really solid here. Psychic deals with most of his team. His only resists are Mega Mawile and Persian, both of which I can Will-O-Wisp and U-turn on. Darmanitan would be his only physical breaker that can actually break through me, but in combination, as I mentioned earlier, with T-Tar and Suicune, he just doesn't have a good time here. So yeah, this Mew is just overall really solid versus his Mew, really can really put in the work in combination with my other defensive Pokemon here. So yeah, next up we have my Mega Scizor. I have an invested max HP and sped-crapped the Mega Mawile here, so I can potentially roost on an SD or something. And I also sped-crapped a slightly speed-invested Nidoqueen and put the rest in attack, because what this does, this attack investment allows me to do is to guarantee put a max HP Mega Mawile in range of my Assault Vest Tyranitar's Earthquake that you'll see down here. I'm guaranteed able to click Bullet, come in on Mega Mawile, take any hit, click Bullet Punch, and after Bullet Punch plus Stealth Rock, my Tyranitar down there is 100%, if it's not defense invested, 100% able to take down the Mega Mawile from there. So that's really nice. I do have some safety checks for the Mega Mawile built in here, which makes me a lot more comfortable going into the matchup, honestly. I additionally have Source Sense, because his only real steel resist is Darmanitan and Quillfish. And again, my plan is to pressure the Quillfish to where either Scizor or my Scolipede down here can win. So if I'm able to do that, if I'm able to weaken the Quillfish with my Sword Stance Scolipede, which you can see on the screen now, Scizor has a great chance of cleaning up late game, because Darmanitan, as I said, tends to wear down itself rather fast. So yeah, SD Scizor can capitalize on that really well. Next up we have Crocoon. No, not actually. We have Scald, Calm Mind, Rest, and Ice Beam. Now, ignore the EVs on my Suicune. They were originally something else. The almost all of the speed EVs I believe should have been in HP, and the attack EVs should have been in defense. And this will make a noticeable impact in the game, because if you're building a defensive core and one of your key elements of this core doesn't have defense investment, it's usually not going to go well for you. But what this set does is it allows me to potentially sweep late game, honestly, but also Ice Beam is here mainly for the Alone and Executor if he tries to capitalize on my Suicune using that. I also add +1. I lived with this special defense investment with max HP if I had it. I was able to not be 3 KO'd by a Tornadus T's Hurricane, so I could have Calm Minded up or rested and Ice Beamed on them. Yeah, unfortunately that won't work here. But yeah, that's my Suicune set. Again, this takes on the Darmanitan pretty well. It outspeeds Nidoqueen. It can potentially Scald Burn the Mega Mawile and beat it. If it Scald Burns, it probably beats the Mega Mawile. It counters the Pillow-Swine, and Coolfish Cryfang can't do much to me. Once I get the Scald Burn, I can even gradually wear it down. It obviously can taunt me and wear me down myself, but I can usually recover up on stuff like the Pillow-Swine later down the road, which makes it, and even the Nidoqueen, which makes this, or the Tornadus, which makes this Suicune like really effectively, even if he brings like taunt spam. Don't expect to sweep, but this is really effective at wearing down his team. So yeah, next up we have the Mega Tyranitar. Enough speed to always outspeed a Mega Mawile, kill it with Earthquake. So this is my second part of the safety check for Mega Mawile. Even if he gets up an SD, I don't care about Sucker Punch. Stone Edge really is just a part of that generally great move versus his team Edgequake. He's really weak to that. His best check is Pillow-Swine, and even that will take like 30% from Stone Edge. So I'm really happy with that. Crunch and Pursuit actually allow me to beat the Starmie as well if Starmie comes, because what T-Tar had with an Assault Vest doesn't really care about Starmie's Hydro Pump, and I can just knock it out with Crunch or Pursuit Rabbit, which is really nice for me. And then we have next up we have the Scolipede. Standard SD 3 attacks. If I ever get up the SD and the Quillfish is weakened enough, I can just sweep with this. Ground EMZ for either the Quillfish or the Nidoqueen, depending if they bring Sugar Berry or not. I can easily break through those. I can also, this is another mon that Mega Mawile might want to capitalize on, but I can prevent that by Earthquaking as well. And last but not least, we have the pretty standard Stunfisk that takes on the Tornadus with this investment, and the special attack investment should allow me to also pose. No. I don't know why there's special attack investment. There should be Spadef investment, but whatever. It's Steiner with Dual Stab, Stealth Rock, and Scald. Scald just to prevent the Pillow-Swine from freely coming in on me every time and threatening me out, getting up Stealth Rock, toxicking my team. If I can Scald Burn the Pillow-Swine, it's another mon that's also set up for my Scolipede, so that's really nice for me. So yeah, that was quite a long team builder, but since this is the last week before playoffs and quite important, honestly, I just wanted to give a bit more in-depth thought process about what I thought going into this game. So yeah, let's see you with the battle portion of the video now. Alright, and I am back with the battle portion of the video. I haven't said that in a while because I usually don't do team builders like I do, but like I did this time. But I'm gonna try and do that more often actually, because that I think is a really cool way to improve your prep, because if you really specify your game plan, you can't just fall into the trap of making a just generally good team but not really thinking through game plan. So yep, expect that on the channel in the future. But yeah, we're here with the battle portion, and it's kind of what I expected, to be honest. He brought the Mega Mawile, the Tornadus T, the Nidoqueen, the Darmanitan, the Pillow-Swine, and the Quillfish. Looking at matchup, Mawile is obviously going to be a bulky SD, or not even SD, but a bulky breaker. I expect SD, it's not quite necessary versus my team, but it's to be expected. Also Sucker Punch for my faster threats. The Tornadus is probably going to be the Z-move variant, I'm thinking, or a Taunt. He's going to have Taunt, he's going to have Hurricane, he's going to have Heat Wave, and then a Z-move to either hit my Tyranitar or a move to hit my Stunfisk. He might also forgo Heat Wave in favor of like Grass Knot, but not sure on that. Z Hurricane is also good versus my team, but not extremely so. I'm not sure what kind of Z-move he will run, to be honest, but I expect one here at this point. The next mon on his team is the Nidoqueen, which again I expect to be a more physically defensive variant to help him deal with my Scolipede in combination with his Intimidating Quillfish, which I also expect to be a defensive Pokemon. The Pillow-Swine is what I mainly expect to be Stealth Rocker, maybe. On the other hand, it could also just be a defensive check to my Tyranitar. And then here's Darmanitan, which is either going to be a Choice Scarf mon or just a Life Orb Sheer Force offensive breaker to deal with my bulk or wear down my team. So yeah, looking at lead matchups, similarly to what I said in the team builder, I don't see a good answer to Mew. So that's something I want to consider. Mew really doesn't have any bad leads. If he leads Mega Mawile, I'll get a Will-O-Wisp. If he leads Tornadus, I can freely go into my Stunfisk and get momentum that way. Even if he U-turns, he takes chip damage from his Rocky Arm and can potentially get parried. If he taunts turn 1 on my Mew, I can at least fire off a safe Scald afterwards, expecting the Pillow-Swine. So yeah, that's really good for me. or to expecting the Pillow Swine or the Nidoqueen's really is no drawback play. Then there's Nidoqueen. If Mew leads for his Nidoqueen, I can just Psychic and punish him for his Stealth Rocks if he wants to hit me. I at least gain momentum that way, that I take at least about half off of his Nidoqueen. And if he leads Darmanitan, I can just pretty much guaranteed roost, because if he U-turns or Flareblitz, which are his most likely plays, he will take a lot of recoil and helmet, and I can just roost and be basically still at full with almost no drawback and a lot of damage on the Darmanitan. Pillow can't really touch me because Pillow doesn't get knockoff, and I always have, if he leads Pillow I always have safe switching into my Scizor and Suicune. And if he leads Quillfish, that's the one thing I need to wear down with my team so I can win the game. And if I can fire off a Psychic versus that, I'm really happy. So yeah, that's my thought process right here. So what I want to do is I want to lead off with my Mew right away. I think it has a super good matchup here. And I will just do that as he does lead with his Nidoqueen. Now him leading Nidoqueen puts me in the position I talked about earlier. I can just fire off a pretty free Psychic here. He doesn't have an immunity, he didn't bring the Persian, and take half of his Nidoqueen on the Stealth Rock. If he tries to go for Toxic or any move, that's a good play on him. But since my team is made to not have one specific counter to one specific mon, but more a general core that is able to deal with his entire team, I'm not really that worried about him getting off a Toxic on me and this Nidoqueen. I don't want it to get up T-Spikes or to get up Stealth Rocks for free, so I'm just going to Psychic here. Take off about half from Nidoqueen as expected as he goes for the Toxic on my Mew. That's a good play on his part. He got the Mew Toxic, but with the helmet and my roost, I think I'm still fine here 1v1ing his team. So yeah, I can just fire off a second Psychic here, taking out the Nidoqueen or really dealing with any of his potential switch-ins. Even if he goes Tortilla, it reveals to me that he's not Assault Vest as expected. So yeah, here I predict him to go either for the U-turn, the knockoff, or the taunt in any event of this. Stunfisk is always my play of choice, which I can go into now here. If he doesn't go for the taunt, I get up my Stealth Rock. If he goes for the taunt, as he does, I can now just fire off a safe Scald for expecting the Pillow Swine or the Nidoqueen, not even needing to predict anything. As he goes for the U-turn, gets parried and reveals a Lumberry, so I'm now not even worried about the Z move anymore. I'm curious why he clicked U-turn there. Don't think it was his play. The chip damage wasn't that necessary on Stunfisk, and withdrawing would have been much more beneficial, preserving the potential Lumberry for later on when it really mattered. But yeah, interesting play. If he reveals U-turn and taunt, that also means that his last two moves are either Superpower or Heat Wave and Hurricane. So yeah, that's interesting as well. Yeah, but he goes into Pulse as I catch that with a Scald. Unfortunately, I don't get a burn right away, but I get a crit, so that's something. I get like load of damage off on the Pulse, really limiting its ability to check my Tyranitar. And now I have a safe switch out into my Suicune, as he predicts that nicely by going into Quillfish. But I don't lose much here because he basically is forced to taunt me. I know that, but I want to scout for it anyway, and just go into my Mew, because if he taunts here, if he Toxics here, which would be his one play, my Mew is already Toxic. I don't lose much. If he tries to taunt me, I don't lose much, because now I'm in a position again where I can just fire off a really free Psychic as I was before, or actually click U-turn to gain some momentum. And so yeah, Mew was a really free play for me. Let's call it free play. That should work out. Yeah, Mew was a really free play for me here. So now I'm just in a position to force out this Quillfish with the next turn and just click U-turn. As I mentioned, gaining momentum, going back into my Stunfisk, and now I can discharge on his taunt. He's forced to click taunt here, in my opinion, because his team, with the lack of recovery it generally has, and my Scolipede and my Scizor being the massive threats they are, and how important it is to maintain the health of his team, I don't think he can really afford to get up Stealth Rocks, which is why I just click discharge him, and I get lucky again and crit him. Unfortunately, he would have been able to preserve this Tornadus, maybe get it back to health, but it wouldn't really have made any or gotten any chance to switch in later in the game, so I don't think this mattered all that much. I just put myself in a good position with the U-turn play from Mew. And the crit made it even better, but I don't think it mattered that much in the long term. But yeah, he goes into Nidoqueen, and he decides to get up his Stealth Rocks, which I predict as I go for the Earth Power. Popping the Sugar Berry again, something I fully expected to have the Sugar Berry. I wanted to pop that anyway. I could have clicked Scald here, but I just wasn't sure if he would double to Quillfish potentially, which I didn't really want. Probably, and Scald I don't think knocked him out anyway, so yeah, Earthbar was my play. I popped the Sugar Berry, which is again nice for Scolipede. It would have been in range earlier at +2, but now I can even knock him out without an SD boost. So that's really good for me. Sugar Bear Nidoqueen was expected, as I said. And now, since the Tornadus is gone, I don't really need my Stunfisk anymore. I can utilize the Rocky Helmet static combination against Smallboil or Darmanitan later in the game. But I do think it's now worth my while to stay in and kill off this Nidoqueen here, because nothing on my team really wants to take the Earth Power, and Stunfisk is my most expendable member. It can easily take it, so yeah. I just do that, and now my taunt is ended, and depending on what he goes into, I'm even able to get up my Stealth Rocks, but he goes into Billowswine, and I am in range of an Icicle Crash here. So I decide to switch out of an Earthquake here, so I decide to switch out into my Suicune, as it does a good amount, and here is where I noticed that my Suicune's EVs were messed up. I didn't notice that before, and so I thought, why does this do so much? Is this an offensive or even a choice banded Piloswine? But no, it's just a messed up Suicune. So yeah, that's really unfortunate for me. I would have been in a way better position if it wouldn't be like that. But here still, I can just fire off a free Scald. Even his only real Pokemon that wants to take it at this point is Quillfish. If I get the burn on that, it's basically GG as well. So yeah, I can go for the Scald. I get a good chance to fish for a burn here. He goes into Quillfish, and as you'll see, I do not get the burn here, unfortunately. But again, he is forced to taunt me, which puts me in the same position I was in earlier. I tried to go for the Calm Mind here just in case. It might have been a bit of a misplay, but I went for the Calm Mind here just in case, because I felt like he could not really allow Mew the free switch in again. Because Mew, while being whittled down slowly, also was Mew being in was generally problematic for him, because Psychic or Will-O-Wisp basically got me another KO or put me in a really advantageous spot, and they made this play before. So yeah, but good read on him catching me on the Calm Mind here. But yeah, what this means is I can still just go for the Scald here and try to wear down this Quillfish, because once I get the burn, or once I get enough damage off, as I get the burn now, this Pokemon can't deal with my Tyranitar. My Tyranitar beats it, and even my Scolipede can set up on it. So I'm in a really good position here, because now I just need a bit more damage off on this Quillfish, and I can win the game with my Scolipede. And with these plays, I'm wearing down the Quillfish faster than it can recover with Black Sludge, so that's nice. As I now pull the double into my Mew, because I predict him to just fire off a Scald or a Waterfall, as he does just that, and I take that well. He takes Rocky Helmet, which puts him further down, and now I can just force him out. I don't need to recover up here with Mew. I can just freely Psychic and kill this Quillfish, or if he decides to switch out, and I leave it a low enough amount of health to where I can pick it off later in the game. So that's something I can do right here. I can just freely Psychic with my Mew again. Hit the Piloswine, I get the 2 KO, and because I get the 2 KO, I predict him to go for the Ice Shard to get a bit more damage on my Mew. I calc that, and with my investment, and me clicking Roost here, I will end up at a higher amount of HP as I was before, even after Toxic and Ice Shard damage, so I just click Roost here, and follow up the Roost. Yeah, so I end up at 56, which is 7% more, and follow up with a Roost with clicking Psychic. Oh, no, with switching out, sorry, I switch out here into my Scizor, because I expect that he wants to just sack off his Piloswine, and this Piloswine is my chance to get rid of the rocks for good, which enables me to sweep late game, yeah, sorry. So yeah, I wanted to defog here, expecting him to sack off his Piloswine, because Psychic from my Mew was rather obvious at this point. But he makes the good play. He makes a good play going on Darmanitan, probably expecting the Will-O-Wisp, which works out for him. I wouldn't have Will-O-Wisp there in any situation, but it definitely worked out for him. So yeah, I'm forced to go into my to switch out here. I don't want to go hard Suicune because it's worn down. I don't want to go hard Cheetar in case he superpowers or U-turns. So my play is to go Stunfisk. Stunfisk again isn't important, as I pointed out before, and with the helmet and static chance and him probably going for Flare Blitz, I can easily get some good chip damage on this Darmanitan and put it in range of everything else on my team. So yeah, I do that. He clicks the Flare Blitz, not really revealing much at what kind of damage this was, but taking 27% in the process, which is really nice for me. And now I can go into my T-Tar, because again, Suicune is whittled down, and I don't really want to chance it at this moment. Going into T-Tar is the right play, because sand damage, and I can scout out the Choice Scarf. If he switches here, he's most likely Choice Scarf, or Choiced in a way, maybe Choice Bandit. But if he doesn't switch here, he will click Superpower, and that means that I have a safe double into my Mew and can get more damage on him with my Rocky Helmet on the Mew. So what I do is I double here into the Mew, on the superpower, getting even more chip damage off on him, which is just beautiful for my Scizor, because now after the next turn of Sand, I think he's almost in range of my Mega Scizor. He is now in range of +2, so that's also something to take note of. But he can just knock me on with Flare Blast, and again, he's taking 60% Rocky Helmet, 3% recoil plus Sand, and I basically ward on this Darmanitan by with my 2 Rocky Helmet users. So yeah, this is not a threat anymore, it's in range of Mega Scizor. So I can just go into my Mega Scizor right now, click the Bullet Punch, revenge this Darmanitan, and then my plan is to defog. Basically, I can either get the defog on Pillow-Swine or Quillfish. If he goes Mawile, I will Bullet Punch it, even with the Intimidate boost, 2 Bullet Punches put him in range of Tyranitar's Earthquake, so really happy. 1 Earthquake, 1 Bullet Punch as he goes for the Play Rough, over predicting. I really had no reason here to switch out. I think he should have gone for Fire Punch, but it would have come down to the same because my Suicune outsped this Mawile. And basically, even if he clicked Fire Punch here, Fire Fang here to kill my Scizor, I went to Suicune afterwards, clicked Scald, and then proceeded to kill this, and basically kill the rest of my team with my Tyranitar. So yeah, I don't think it really matters. As he goes for the Fire Fang, as I get now, oh, sorry about that. Now he is at low enough HP to where Earthquake kills him from my Tyranitar 100% of the time, especially with the damage he revealed to do to my Scizor. So I'm free to defog here. Defogging is obviously nice, but it wouldn't have been necessary, and this didn't change the outcome of the game at all. So yeah, I just defog here, get rid of the rocks as he Fire Fangs to knock me out, and now I can go into my Tyranitar and fire off a free Earthquake. It will KO the Mawile, it will 2 KO every member on his team from this point. So he really doesn't have a good option here, as he follows it up by going into Quillfish, and because Quillfish is burned, Quillfish doesn't really do enough damage to my team to where it can 1v1 this Tyranitar. As you can see, it does only 26, and Earthquake is a solid 2-hit KO, but he gets the flinch. But yeah, because of burn plus Sand, I still get a bit of chip damage off, and now the next Earthquake will be able to knock out this Quillfish. And yeah, play, yeah, and there we go, Quillfish drops, and now only the Pillow-Swine is left. I'm not sure on the speed creeping on this Pillow-Swine, quite honestly, because my Suicune's EV was messed up. And I really didn't, and I also really wanted to give the kill to Suicune because of the MVP race, so I decide to switch out on this Pillow-Swine into my Suicune. I know that I can take Earthquake into Ice Shard even with Toxic and Sand damage after leftovers, so I calc that out and know that it's pretty risk-free for me to go in my Suicune, and I can just knock this Pillow-Swine out with Scald here. And that means we win 3-0 against Hikertoad. GG, dude. That was a really good match. I actually think Hiker had a really tough matchup. My team is just generally good at wearing down teams, and his team doesn't have a lot of sustainability to really combat that in an effective manner. So yeah, that's my game against Hiker. That means we finish with the 3rd seed. Yeah, we finished 3rd seed in our conference, and we make playoffs, so that's really good. After a pretty rough season in some stretches, especially in the beginning, we managed to clinch back and get into playoffs, and we're taking on Token Minority Sticks next week in the quarterfinals. And yeah, be sure to check out our playoff run. Hiker is going to be in playoffs as well, so there's a chance we play again, so we'll see about that. Yeah, but my name is Johnny. Thanks for watching, and I'm signing out. Cheers, guys.